Welcome back once again to your ENC Edumate YouTube channel. So this episode mainly concentrates on the textual activities of a short story Gooseberries by Anton Pavlov Chekhov. Textual questions and answers. What purpose does the first sentence serve? The first sentence of the story. The first sentence serves as a suitable introduction to a story which itself talks about a sad and gloomy situation. It looks like rain, but it does not come. Happiness is like the rain here. It looks like a happiness, but it is not there. That is the indication. A double meaning, a kind of a comparison or a inner meaning is intertwined to it. Can you guess what story Ivan was about to tell Borkin? The story is of two brothers who pursue means to follow happiness in their own ways. Question 3. How do you feel when it rains? It is actually a personal question. So there is no ready-made answer in the story. It's how do you feel when it rains? So I feel sad and gloomy, or you can write I feel happy and enthusiastic when it rains. So if you use I feel sad and gloomy, I prefer sunshine to rain. Most probably now some children wanted to play in the rain. They wanted to rain. They wanted to take a bath in the rain. They feel very happy. But some children cannot go out to play. Sometimes some children feel sad and gloomy when it rains. I prefer sunshine to rain. So good. Question number 4. Describe Aliokin's appearance. Means a physical description. Aliokin was about 40 years, tall and stout, tall body and having fatness, stout. He had a long hair. He looked more like a professor or a painter than a farmer. At the time we see him first, he was wearing a grimy white shirt and a rope belt and pants instead of trousers. His boots were covered with mud and straw. His nose and eyes were black with the dust. So this is really the appearance of Aliokin, who was a farmer, 40 years old, tall and stout, wearing pants instead of trousers, rope belt, grimy white shirt. So this is then. Question number 5. Why couldn't Aliokin bathe regularly despite having a good bathing shed? Aliokin has a good bathing shed, but he could not regularly bathe himself. Why? Aliokin couldn't bathe regularly despite having a good bathing shed because he had no time. He was busy with his farming job in the field, farming work in the field. Question number 6. How did Ivan respond to the rain? Ivan responded to the rain by plunging, jumping into the water with a splash of water. He swam about in the rain, flapping his arms and sending waves back. He swam out to the middle of the pool and dived, trying to reach the bottom. He shouted with glee and said how delicious it was. So this was the activity of Ivan Ivanich when he took a bath. When did Ivan start narrating his story? Let us see the occasion or the time when he. After Ivan's bath, they all went to the house. The lamp was lit in the large drawing room upstairs. Bokin and Ivan were dressed in silk dressing gowns and wore warm slippers. They sat in chairs. Alyokin was also washed and brushed. He wore a new frock coat. He paced means walked fast up and down. It was then that Ivan began his story. How did the brothers spend their childhood after their father's death? After their father's death, the estate went to pay the father's debts. The children spent their childhood in the country. In the country means in the village. They were like peasants' children, farmers' children. Peasants here means farmers' children. They spent their days and nights in the fields and the wood. So they minded the horse. They took care of the horses, took the bark of the lime trees, and fished. And they went for fishing. These are the activities that children did after their father's death. Question number 9. Comment on Ivan's view on the saying that a man needs only 6 feet of land. It is a common saying that a man needs only 6 feet of land. The land for his grave after his death, his dead body should be buried. But Ivan says 6 feet of land is for the corpse, dead body. Corpse here means a dead body and not for a man. He needs much more lands. Question number 10. To leave town and the struggle and swim of life and go and hide oneself in a farmhouse is not life. It is egoism, laziness. Do you agree? Why? Yes, I agree. We have only one life. We should be able to make the best use of it. We should see the world a bit and we should make use of all the talents that God has given us. Hiding in a farmhouse, away from the hustle and bustle of life, hurry schedule or hectic schedule of life, busy, hurry, burry, hustle and bustle of life, would be living like a frog in a well, not knowing what is going on outside, without having any kind of world knowledge. What was the difference in the attitudes of Ivan and Nikolai towards life? Both the brothers are having difference in their attitudes. Nikolai wanted to live in a farmhouse. He wanted to eat in the open air, sleep in the sun, and sit for hours together on a seat by the gate and look at the fields and the forest. He wanted garden walls, flowers, fruits, nuts, carp in the pond and such things. He was very fond of gooseberry bushes. Ivan did not have such an attitude. He also loved country life as he lived there as a child. But his love for it was not as passionate as his brothers, Nikolai. What was Nikolai's dream? His dream was to live in the country, eating out in the open air, sleeping in the sun, and sitting for hours together on a seat by the gate and gazing at the fields. Actually, the previous question's answer is also coming here. And the forest. He wanted to sit on the veranda drinking tea and watching his ducklings swim in the pond and everything smelling good. His dream house always had a gooseberry bush in it. Question number 13. Mention some of the advantages, positive qualities of a country life, village life. Country life has many advantages. One can eat out in the open air, sleep in the sun, same answer is repeated, and sit for hours together on a seat by the gate and gaze at the fields and the forest. One can sit on the veranda drinking tea and watch the ducklings swim in the pond, and everything smells good. There is fresh air in the countryside, and there is less dust, no air pollution, no smoke, no traffic noise. Country life is definitely healthier than city life. Fixed goals help us achieve success in life. What is your opinion? I fully agree with the statement that fixed goal, we must have our own ambition or goal or aim that help us achieve success in life. It is so because goals, ambitions, aims give a sense of direction to our work. Once we have the sense of direction and goals are fixed, our work becomes goal oriented and we can succeed in life. Question number 15. What are the sacrifices Nikolai made to achieve his goal? So, Nikolai in the story has his own goal, and what are the sacrifices, hard works done by Nikolai to achieve his goal? To achieve his goal, Nikolai lived meagerly like a miserly person, not spending too much. He never had enough food to eat or water to drink. He dressed almost like a beggar. He always saved the money and put it into the bank. He was terribly stingy. Stingy means not spending at all. Ivan used to feel hurt. He was very much disappointed his brother, seeing his brother Nikolai like this, and he used to give Nikolai some money to go away for a holiday trip. But he would put that money also in the bank, investment. Question number 16. Nikolai had to buy an estate quite complete different from what he had dreamt of. He had a dream. But he did not grieve, did not feel sorry much. How would you behave in such a situation? It is a personal question. You can write your feelings. I would feel very sad after making so much of sacrifice for so long. If I could not get the kind of thing I had hoped for, I would be grieved. I will feel sorry for that action. What were the good works of Nikolai? How did he care for his peasants, farmers? Nikolai looked after his soul and did the good works pompously. The good works included curing the peasants of all kinds of diseases with soda and castor oil. He treated other farmers just like doctors treating the farmers or peasants' diseases with the soda and castor oil. On his birthday, he would have a Thanksgiving service held in the middle of the village. He would treat the peasants to half a bucket of vodka. Russian liquor is called vodka. He thought it was the right thing to do. The gooseberries were unripe and sour, but Nikolai found them delicious. Why? The gooseberries were unripe and sour, bitter, not tasty. But Nikolai found those gooseberries delicious. Delicious means very tasty because they were his own gooseberries. Even the ugliest child would look most beautiful to its mother. That's all. Was Nikolai happy with his life? How do you know? Nikolai was happy with his life. His dearest dream had come true. He had attained his goal in life. He had got what he wanted. He was pleased with his destiny and with himself. We see him laughing with joy looking at his first gooseberries. When he looked at them, there were tears of joy in his eyes. What distinction did Ivan make between the happy and the unhappy? What is the difference between rich and poor people, happy and unhappy? Contentment. What is the meaning of contentment? Contentment is satisfaction. So contentment is an overwhelming power. Satisfaction will give us a particular energy and power. The happy man feels he is happy and he is happy. The unhappy man bears his burden, his mental problem in silence. What, according to Ivan, was the relevance of freedom? According to Ivan, freedom is a boon, an essential as the air we breathe. Freedom should be instant, very fast, and not something that haunts after a long wait. Question number 22. Why did Ivan find it difficult to live in town after visiting his brother? You see, after visiting his brother, Ivan Ivanich felt very difficult to live in the town. What is the reason? Ivan found it difficult to live in town after visiting his brother because the peace and quiet silence, stillness of the town, the calm and serene nature of the quiet, peace and quiet of the town oppressed him. He did not dare to look in at the windows because to him nothing was more dreadful to see than the sight of a happy family sitting round at a table having tea. He was an old man now and he was no good for the struggle. What change in attitude came over Ivan at the end? So there was a change in the attitude of Ivan Ivanich. Ivan asked forgiveness from God. He realized that his previous earlier attitude was wrong. Question number 24. How can happiness be achieved in life? Happiness can be achieved in life by getting your dreams realized. Gooseberries may be hard and sour, bitter for Ivan, but they were delicious for Nikolai. Happiness differs from one person to another person, from person to person. One man's meat is another man's poison, and one man's religion is another man's madness. There are no common criteria for happiness. Prayer, sacrifice, fasting, and abstinence, getting away from something, may make some people happy, but others feel happy when they are rich and successful. Activity 1. Read and respond. What lesson does Ivan seek to learn from his brother's life? The lesson Ivan seeks to learn from his brother's life is to know How the hard and sour gooseberries become delicious to Nikolai. Compare Alyoshin's first appearance in the story with that of Nikolai. When he sees him first, Alyoshin was standing at the threshold, means at the entrance door. He was about 40, tall and stout. We discussed this question answer. He had long hair. He looked more like a professor or a painter than a farmer. He was wearing a grimy white shirt and a rope belt and pants instead of trousers. His boots were covered with mud and straw. His nose and eyes were black with dust. Nikolai was 2 years younger to his brother, Ivan. Nikolai was at the Exchequer court when he was 19 years old. He was not happy at the Exchequer. For years, he was sitting in the same place, writing the same documents. He was thinking of only one thing, how to get back to the country and to buy a small farm near the bank of a river or lake. Question number 3. The story begins and ends in rain. What does the imagery convey to you? The imagery conveys to me a gloomy atmosphere. There is no joy and mirth, happiness. Question number 4. What do you think the story is titled Gooseberries? Why Anton Pavlovich Chekhov will give the story the name Gooseberries? The story is titled Gooseberries because life is very much like gooseberries. Gooseberries are sour and sweet, sometimes bitter, sometimes sweet. Similarly, life too is sour, bitter, and sweet. Nikolai lives all his life like a miser, a person who is hesitant to spend money for necessary things and even marries an ugly widow to get money to buy the estate with a gooseberry bush. The state he bought or the estate he bought does not have a gooseberry bush, and so he plants some gooseberry bushes. Later, he eats the gooseberries from the plants he had planted and looks pleased, satisfied when he eats gooseberries. Them means gooseberries. Gooseberries may be sweet for one, but sour for another. Life is like that. One man's food is another man's poison, and one man's religion is another man's madness. Question 5. Identify the climax of the story. The climax of the story is when in the night Ivan watches his brother Nikolai going again and again to the plate of gooseberries and eating gooseberries. That night Ivan was able to understand he too had been content, satisfied and happy. We don't have to wait for happiness. Rain has an additional symbolic relevance, significance, importance in this story. Rain is also can be considered as one of the characters in the story. Can you identify other symbols? The other symbols are gooseberries, 6 feet of land, the name Himalayoski, the red-haired dog, soda and castor oil, curing all diseases, and the family sitting round a table having coffee. Analyze Ivan's argument against happiness. There is nothing sadder than the sight of a happy man. Even Ivan's apostrophe S argument against happiness comes out from the truth. Fact means truth that he has no family. He says that nothing is more dreadful to see, frightening, dreadful to see than the sight of a happy family sitting round table having tea. Everybody has his idea of happiness, but Ivan's idea of happiness seems to be particularly his own. I don't agree with him. Question number 8. How does Chekhov develop his theme in the story? What are the techniques used? Story within the story, realism, irony, symbolism. Chekhov's theme in the story is finding happiness. Nikolai finds happiness in eating strawberries and gooseberries. He thinks he can make the peasants happy by giving them half a bucket of vodka, Russian liquor. People follow happiness in different ways. Some find happiness in eating, drinking, and merrymaking. Happiness. Some find happiness in strict aesthetic life and means finding ascetic life. Ascetic means just like a Brahmin or a sannyasi. Some find happiness in serving others, doing help for others, and making sacrifices for them. That is all. Chekhov develops his theme by using different techniques. There is a story within a story. Ivan and Borkin are walking. It is raining and they take shelter in the farmhouse of Alyokin. Then Ivan tells the story of his brother Nikolai, how he sought happiness. Chekhov uses realism in unfolding the story. The account of the life of Ivan and his brother Nikolai in the village after the death of their father is highly realistic. There is also realism in the description of Alyokin and his farmhouse. Another paragraph of this critical appreciation or review of the story. Irony is an important ingredient aspect Chekhov has used. Nikolai eats gooseberry after gooseberry to feel happy and contented. Contented means satisfied. We know how gooseberry is. Nikolai lived all his life like a miser without spending for necessary things. That person is miser. Not eating good food and nutritious food, not drinking properly, not dressing properly. He dressed like a beggar to eat gooseberries. He even married an ugly widow to eat gooseberries. Chekhov is a master in the use of symbolism, symbols in his story. He has used the symbol of rain to great effect. It gives the entire story a sad and melancholic, very unhappy mood. Melancholic and happy. The red-haired dog, which looks like a pig, is an excellent symbol. So is the symbol of the family sitting round the table, enjoying their coffee. Both Nikolai and Ivan have their peculiar, very special, even perverted. Perverted means not having a straightforward sense of happiness. It is a relevant question to ask whether our own sense of happiness is normal or something queer. Queer means strange. Activity to review. Based on the above points, attempt a review of Chekhov's Gooseberries bearing in mind the following hints. Read and recall what you have read and formulate your own observations. Theme of the story, content of the story, writing style, presentation, characters, depiction of landscape, symbolic relevance. Chekhov's story Gooseberries is essentially a satire, a kind of criticism, a comic criticism on man's search for happiness. Here we see two brothers, Ivan and Nikolai, seeking to be happy in their life. Ivan is a veterinary doctor, animal doctor, and Nikolai is an official, an officer at the treasury. Exchequer means treasury. Nikolai is fed up with his job, sitting in the same place and writing out the same documents. His dreams were centered around a farmhouse with a garden and orchard, fruit trees, garden, orchard, a fish pond, and above all, a gooseberry garden, not fish, gooseberry, and fish also fishing in the pond. He lives like a miser to get his ideal place, means a farmhouse, an estate. He even marries an old ugly widow to fulfill his dream because that widow was a rich widow. In the end, he buys an estate with a farmhouse, but it had no orchard, fruit tree gardens, no duck pond, and no gooseberry bush. Gooseberry fish, no gooseberry bush. He plants some gooseberry bushes in his new estate. His joy in life is going on eating the gooseberries his gooseberry bushes produce. Chekhov has presented the story in a fine way. As a story inside another story, we are curious to know, we are very excited to know what happens to Nikolai after all his sacrifices. The characterization by Chekhov has been excellent. There are only four main characters in the story: Ivan, Nikolai, Burkin, and Alyokin. We are also told about Shimsha Himalaysky, the father of Ivan and Nikolai. The characterization of Nikolai and Alyokin stand out as superb characterization. Chekhov has presented the landscape in exquisite beauty. We see the endless farms and the windmills. We can see the dreamland of Nikolai, an estate with a farmhouse, a river nearby, garden, mill pond, garden walls, flowers, fruits, nests, carp, and ducklings in the pond. It is countryside village at its best. Chekhov is a master in the use of simple. The rain, gooseberries, 6 feet of land, the name Himalaysky, the red-haired dog, soda and castor oil curing all diseases, and the family sitting round a table having coffee are all simples. They make a powerful impact on the readers. Now, activity 3, writer. According to Chekhov, money like vodka plays queer, strange tricks with the man. How far is this statement relevant in the present day world? Prepare a write-up on the topic. In the present day world, the statement by Chekhov that money like vodka plays queer tricks with the man is highly relevant. When a person drinks vodka, he feels that he can do anything. Alcohol gives even a weak man courage to speak out his mind. We often suppress our feelings because of fear. But once some vodka gets into us, our tongues become loose and we can say anything without any fear. The same is the case with the money. Once people have money, they think they can do anything and speak anything. In the present day world, there is a lot of corruption, and so people with the money can get away from punishment by bringing the authorities or bribing the authorities, giving them lot of money. Money like vodka intoxicates, inebriates a person and gives him courage to do things he would not normally do. It is called Dutch courage. This is called Dutch courage. Activity for debate. Debate, there is a topic, two groups debating for the topic and against the topic. Let us see what is the topic. Read the following lines from the story. Freedom is a boon as essential as the air we breathe. So this is the line taken from the story. How far is this statement true in the case of an individual? Please, very important, when take note of this. Is freedom essential for an individual? Debate to the topic. Study the tips given on page 141 of the text. Arguments for the topic in favor of freedom. Freedom is a natural thing. Only with the freedom we can develop to our full potential. Freedom forces us to be independent. With the freedom, we choose what we want and do what we want. Freedom makes us free to be what we want to be and not what others want us to be. All living creatures love freedom. You may make a golden cage for a bird, keep it in an air-conditioned room and give it the best and costliest food, but it won't be happy to be confined to the cage. It would fly away the moment you open the cage because it prefers its freedom to food and comfort. So these are the points you can keep if such a question is asked like that. Any topic is given, you can give your arguments supporting the topic or in favor of the topic. Then argument against freedom. Absolute freedom is impossible and undesirable. It's not possible. It cannot be wished. Your freedom might cause problem to others. If everybody does, DOES, what he wants, there will be chaos, disorder, problems in the society. Imagine the situation if you drive freely on your roads. Regulations are necessary for a peaceful and enjoyable, happy life. Even nature follows a discipline. The sun rises and sets in time. Seasons come and go. Like that, it is against the topic. Activity 5, Seminar. In the story, gooseberries represent whatever is indigenous, whatever should be preserved to retain the culture of the countryside. Do you think that it is our responsibility to preserve our indigenous culture? This is in your textbook. You need not to copy, only the answer you copy. Conduct a seminar on this topic. Present your paper in the class. You may take note of the following guidelines: introduction, objective, theoretical background, what others say on the topic, research, connect to theoretical background, conclusion. Your references and findings reflect on what you have been able to prove. Our seminar today discusses the question: is it our responsibility to preserve, to observe, or to have our indigenous culture? I would start by saying it is our duty to do so. We must protect our indigenous culture. Every nation and every tribe has a culture. India is a nation of mixed cultures. That is why Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru talked about university in diversity. Although we have different cultures and traditions, Ultimately, we all are Indians, the children of Bharat Mata. Culture can be defined as the patterns of behavior and thinking that people living in social groups learn, create, and share. Culture distinguishes, differentiates one human group from other human group. It also distinguishes humans from other animals. A people's culture includes their beliefs, rules of behavior, language, rituals, religious practices, art, technology, styles of dress, ways of producing and cooking food, religion, and political and economic systems. Anthropologists commonly use the term culture to refer to a society or group in which many or all people live and think in the same ways. Likewise, any group of people who share a common culture and in particular common rules of behavior and a basic form of social organization constitutes a society. Thus, the terms culture and society are often interchangeable. They cannot be changed. They are interrelated. The objective of preserving or protecting culture is to bring about unity among different sects of people. For survival, unity is very important, essential. Unity is strength. United we stand, divided we fall. This is actually the motto of United All Indians. So we ought to preserve our culture. We should protect and safeguard our culture. But at the same time, we should not be rigid, very adamant. We should be flexible to allow concessions. We should never become jingoistics or egoistic about our culture. The world has seen many wars fought in the name of culture as one group tries to impose its culture on another group. There is a fight between different groups regarding imposing each group's culture upon another group. We hear about tribal wars and ethnic cleansing. These are caused by extremists who feel that their culture is the best. I would say that even as we preserve our culture, we should respect the culture of others. The principle should live and let others live. That is all. Activity 6, the WH interrogatives. Question. WH question sentences. We use WH interrogatives to make questions. WH, what, when, where. These are WH questions. Study the set of questions given on page 142 and 143. Reported questions. Read the notes and examples given on page 143. Frame questions to get to the underlined words as answer. Example. He bought 20 gooseberry bushes. What did he buy? Or how many gooseberry bushes? What WH? How many? H question. Number. What? Things. They went to Alyokin's barn. So question. They went to Alyokin's barn. Alyokin's barn is a place. So place question word is where did they go? They went to Alyokin's barn. Where did they go? Then he was a gentle, good-natured fellow. What kind of man was he? How? What kind of? What type of? What? WH question. He was a gentle, good-natured fellow. He was a gentle and good-natured fellow. So he was a gentle and good-natured fellow. The question, what kind of a man was he? Third one. We have spent our childhood running wild in the country. So here H question. How have you spent your childhood? How have you spent? We have spent. How have you spent? We have spent. How have you spent your childhood? We have spent our childhood running wild in the country. Fourth question. Ivan saw a happy man. Whom or who did Ivan see? Or what type of man did Ivan see? Then I went away from my brother's house early in the morning. What did Ivan realize that night? Okay, that is what. I went away from my brother's house early in the morning. So early in the morning is a time. When did you go away from your brother's house? I went away from my brother's house early in the morning. So when did you go away? Please write that answer. It is not printed here. When did you go away from your brother's house? Please write down. When did you go away? When did you? Fifth question's answer. When did you go away from your brother's house? Question mark. Answer early in the morning. Okay. Answer need not be included in the question. That is all. That night Ivan realized that he too was happy and contented. What did Ivan realize that night? What did Ivan realize that night? That is all. Okay. Now exclamation sentences. It was a great beautiful land. It is an ordinary sentence, declarative sentence. How we will convert the what, how, these are the words you must start with the exclamatory sentence. It was a great beautiful land. What a great beautiful land. A full stop will be changed into exclamation mark. One vertical line and dot. That is the technique for converting the declarative sentence into or assertive sentence into exclamatory sentences. It was a great beautiful land. It is an assertive sentence or declarative sentence or a statement. This can be converted into an exclamatory sentence. What a great beautiful land. The water looked cold and contaminated. Oh, how, what, how, these are the words who are changing into exclamatory. How cold and contaminated the water looked. How cold and contaminated the water looked. Third one. That was a very interesting dream. Assertive sentence, declarative sentence. What? Again, how, what? What an interesting dream it was. Exclamation mark. A full stop will be changed to exclamation. What an interesting dream it was. Nikolai is very generous. We can write in two ways. Nikolai is so generous, or how generous Nikolai is. That also you can write. How generous. How generous Nikolai is. Nikolai is so generous. Or how generous Nikolai is. You can write like this. Both ways are okay. But better English is how generous. The better exclamatory sentence is how generous Nikolai is. Fifth question. It would be nice if I were young once again. I wish to be young once again. I wish to be young once again. This also is. He is an incredibly positive man. What an incredible positive man he is. What? How? What an incredible positive man he is. And how I wish to be young once again. Okay, so with that, we came to the end. Please systematically watch again and again. Try to learn how to convert assertive sentences or declarative sentences into exclamatory sentences. So, wish you all the best. Share to your friends and try to be the winner, A plus topper. Wish you all the best. Thank you.